Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Millions of Canadians are struggling to make ends meet. We have a cost of living crisis and an economy that is seeing an ever-widening gap between the wealthy and the rest of us. A few stark facts bear this out. According to Statistics Canada, nearly half of Canadians report that rising prices are greatly affecting their ability to meet day-to-day expenses. Rent has increased by over 21%, and grocery foods have increased by over 20% over the last 3 years. According to Equifax Canada, 50% of Canadians are now living paycheck to paycheck. Income inequality in Canada has hit the highest level ever recorded. The top 20% of Canadians hold more than 2/3 of our country's wealth. By comparison, the bottom 40% of Canadians account for only 2.8% of our country's wealth. Wow. According to the Salvation Army, 1 in 4 parents cut back on their own food consumption to ensure their children had enough food to eat this year. 8 in 10, 80% of Canadians now believe that owning a home in Canada is now only for the rich. Yep. 7 in 10 say they have given up on ever owning a home. A majority of Canadians say thinking about holiday spending causes them financial anxiety, and 80% plan on cutting back on spending during this holiday season in a few short weeks. That's why the NDP recently pledged to permanently remove the GST from daily essentials and monthly bills, such as grocery store items, including pre-prepared meals, diapers, children's clothing, internet, home phone and cell phone bills, and all types of home heating. Note that all of these items are unavoidable expenses. Everyone has to heat their residence, buy food at the grocery store, and cell phones and internet are now essential utilities.
That's right.
We estimate our plan would save an average family over $500 per year. Now, this commitment stands in stark contrast with the Conservatives' proposed cuts to essential programs like dental care, child care, and pharmacare. Losing that support would cost families thousands of dollars per year. That's money they can't afford.
Yep.
Now, we would finance this permanent tax cut with an excess profits tax paid by very large corporations that abuse their monopoly market power and unjustifiably hike their profit margins. Canadians should know that excess profit or windfall taxes are used worldwide, including in the United Kingdom, Spain, and Australia. In fact, Canada has a history of using excess profits taxes. During both world wars, excess profits taxes were implemented to help fund the war effort and ensure that companies did not engage in profiteering.
Yep.
The Parliamentary Budget Officer has estimated that an excess profit tax would have generated almost $8 billion in federal revenues for the 2020 year.
Yep.
Now, the Liberal government responded to the NDP's tax-free essentials plan, but in true Liberal fashion, only partially.
Yep.
They instead proposed a 2-month GST holiday on certain items starting December 14th and a one-time payment of $250 delivered in the spring 2025 for individuals who reported net employment income of up to $150,000 in 2023. They have completely ignored the NDP's call for an excess profits tax on large corporations who are making huge, historic profits.
Yep.
This is far from the substantial, fair, and permanent relief the NDP wants to give Canadians. As usual, the Liberals are letting people down with their choice to make this a short-term tax holiday on a limited list of items. Their scheme also largely fails to capture the life essentials that the NDP plan does by leaving out things like home heating and cellular and internet bills. We are profoundly disappointed that the Liberals have chosen to exclude the most vulnerable Canadians from their one-time payment proposal. The Liberals have perversely chosen to send checks to individuals earning $149,000 a year or couples earning $298,000 a year, but not to seniors on fixed incomes of $25,000 or people with disabilities so severe that they can't work. Mr. Speaker, that completely defies logic and fairness. Now, this plan was announced without consultation or negotiation with the NDP. Our position is that everyone under the income threshold should receive the $250 payment, and we will not support the Liberals' rebate payment unless this support is expanded to include everyone in need. Now that is why the NDP forced the Liberals to split these two measures into two, so that we can proceed with the GST holiday right away to give people immediate relief while we continue to pressure the Liberals to fix the $250 benefit to include all vulnerable Canadians.
That's right.
New Democrats will vote for the GST holiday proposed in the legislation before us today because working and middle-class families are desperate for relief, even if it is temporary and less than ideally aimed. We will continue to campaign hard on permanently scrapping the GST on daily essentials and on monthly bills. And we will continue to fight for a fair taxation system where the rich pay their fair share and all working and middle-class Canadians can live comfortable lives with dignity. Now, a few words on the bill before the House. This legislation amends the Excise Tax Act in order to implement a temporary GST-HST holiday between December 14th and February 15th, 2025 on qualifying goods. This will help Canadians by lowering the cost of a range of products that are particularly needed during the upcoming holiday season. These include children's clothing, footwear, and diapers, children's car seats, food and beverages in groceries and in restaurants, children's toys including games, building sets, puzzles, and video consoles, print newspapers, printed books, and even Christmas trees or similar decorative trees. Now, removing the GST from these goods for 2 months will provide an estimated $1.6 billion in federal tax relief. A family spending $2,000 on qualifying goods will realize GST savings of at least $100 over the 2-month period, but in provinces where the HST will also be removed, Ontario and in the Atlantic provinces, further savings will be realized. The same 2,000 basket of qualifying purchases will realize a savings of $260 over a 2-month period. Now, the Liberals' plan to only offer temporary GST relief not only provides less than half the relief to families that the NDP's plan does, but it will also present a significant burden on businesses, especially small businesses, who have to adjust their cash registers and payment systems twice in 2 months. That is yet more reason that the NDP plan to permanently eliminate the GST on these essential items is better for business and better for consumers.
Hear, hear.
Now, I'd like to address one of the major reasons that Canadians are feeling such economic pressure. That's corporate price gouging. New Democrats understand that the inflation of the last 2 years was not caused by unreasonable wages or increased demand by consumers or even by excess government spending. It was caused by corporations who inflated prices.
That's right.
Canadians are eating the same food they did before inflation. They're driving the same cars, the same mileage they did before inflation. Frankly, people are probably eating and driving less. Governments have been running large deficits for almost 20 years by both Conservative and Liberal administrations without causing rampant inflation.
Yep, that's a Conservative.
So that cannot possibly explain why grocery prices are through the roof, suppliers are shrinking their portions, and oil companies jacked up their gas prices. Here are the real facts. Profit margins surged in early 2022 following the COVID pandemic, where many sectors used the cover of the pandemic as an excuse to raise prices.
Yep.
Despite the normalization of supply chains, easing of shortages, and weaker consumer demand, aggregate corporate profits hardly changed in 2023. Last year, corporations in Canada recorded $644 billion in pre-tax profits, 54% higher than in 2019, the last pre-pandemic year, and over double the average profit level of the pre-pandemic decade.
Agreed.
A quick look at 3 highly concentrated industries, the grocery, telecom, and oil and gas sectors, reveal this clearly. Coming out of the pandemic, operating profits in the oil and gas sector increased tenfold, from $6.6 billion in 2019 to $66 billion in 2022. That's the highest profit ever recorded in Canadian history.
Wow.
Grocery giant profits margin doubled from 2% pre-pandemic to 4.1% in 2023. A 1% point increase in gross margins at grocery stores adds over $1 billion to Canadians' food bills. And last, Mr. Speaker, the telecom sector reported total revenues of $66.8 billion in 2022, another all-time high. So, Mr. Speaker, why do we have high prices in Canada? Because large corporations raise them. Why do we have a problem with productivity in Canada? Because corporations are not investing in machinery, equipment, technology, employee training.
Yes.
The NDP will continue to fight for working and middle-class Canadians and bring a fair taxation system in this country so everyone has a real shot at a good life in this country.
Here, here.